Today on Studio One, a married couple is called out on duty when natural disasters devastate an area. Mary and John Hanson are there to lend a helping hand when you need it the most. Plus, a look at purging and starvation, a deadly disorder affecting more and more people, both young and old. And we'll preview the movie Up Close and Personal.
Reporting live.
Now from the University of North Dakota with Scott Seiler and Stephanie Mars, this is Studio One.
And hello everyone, welcome to Studio One today. Today is March 1st. It's also the first day that the new 800 number is going into effect. So in addition to 1-800, there's also 1-888 as the new toll-free numbers.
And there are also many area codes that are changing, for instance from 612 to 302 because of the many phone lines that are needed in this information age.
Yeah, definite example of that. Well, also on Studio One, we'll be talking with Lance Bozlinski. He's president of the Wilderness Pilots Association, and he'll be talking about his survival camping trips.
If you'll be engaged, students, stay tuned for tips on picking out the perfect diamond for you and your budget.
But first, news from CNN about another plane crash and also news from around the region with Mike Mundahl. Mike?
Thanks, Scott and Stephanie. A Boeing 737 crashed Thursday night in the Andes Mountains. The crash was just 5 miles from its destination of Arequipa. An airline official says all 123 people aboard were killed. An airline official says most of the victims were from Peru and none were from the U.S. The plane's pilot had reported everything was normal just 5 minutes before landing. The crew of a passing plane reportedly spotted the plane completely engulfed in flames while it was still airborne. Rescue teams are still trying to reach the crash site. Television industry gurus met in Washington Thursday to unveil the voluntary rating system. The TV rating system will be modeled after the movie ratings and will consider the amount of sex and violence.
To all the parents of America, I say, you will be handed a powerful tool that you must now exercise it with the responsibilities that go with it.
TV program distributors will rate their own programs. Industry officials were under pressure from the telecommunications bill to produce their own rating system, or the government would do it for them. The medical community is concerned about the increasing number of doctors in the United States. A study done at the Institute of Medicine in Washington, D.C. says the number of doctors in the U.S. has more than doubled in the last 20 years. The study says this surplus of doctors is due partly to the high number of international students who train in the U.S. and then stay to practice medicine. It's not fair to those countries, really, for those students to come here and take spots that our students ought to have. That constitutes a brain drain, if you will, too, from those countries. The study by the Institute of Medicine also says the surplus of doctors could increase health care costs. Access to health care will still be difficult for smaller communities, even though the overall number of doctors has increased. North Dakota and Minnesota actually need more doctors in family practice, internal medicine, and pediatrics. It removes stains on your clothes, but is a danger to your health. Consumer Reports says a solvent used in dry cleaning called perchloroethylene could increase your risk of cancer. Frequent exposure to dry cleaned clothes over a period of 40 years might cause up to 150 cancers per million exposed consumers. Public health officials say there's no need to panic. A few steps can be taken to minimize the problem. You should avoid wearing clothes that need to be dry cleaned often, and you should also wait a few days before wearing dry cleaned clothes to get rid of the harmful residues. Lunchtime is usually a time for people to relax and get away from work. Some people like to go out to eat or go home, but some people like to get together and play bingo.
Okay, this is the last call for bingo cards. If you need a card, come back to the bingo counter.
Lunch Bingo is an opportunity for bingo fanatics to play bingo all day long. Francis Nasenick has been playing since it started and says that Lunch Bingo has its moments.
Winning is the fun part. Haven't been very lucky for a long time, though. It's going to be pretty dry.
If you think playing bingo doesn't have its rewards, think again.
They had the $750 game, you know, and then a $500 game. Well, I was right off the bat, I hit the 500, and the next game I hit the 750 right off the bat. Back to back. Then people hollered, go home.
The pot for this game is sitting at $500. Sure, the game sounds fun, but in order to have a good game of bingo,
you need a good bingo caller.
N44.
Andre Fortune is the bingo caller for Lunch Bingo, and he says that it gives people something to do during their lunch hour.
They'll eat usually and then maybe come in and play bingo. It lasts about 15 minutes, so it takes care of 15 minutes of their lunch.
So the next time you go on your lunch break, think about what you want to do. You could walk away $500 richer. Mike Mundahl, Studio One. Lunch Bingo's been going on at McMenamies and Grand Forks for about 2 weeks now. It started out slow, but is starting to pick up. And that's a look at news for this half hour. Scott and Stephanie.
Thanks, Mike. You know, it's been a real long time since I can remember last time I played bingo.
The last time I played bingo was for pennies with my grandparents, and so it was quite a while ago.
Not big bucks, huh?
No, and hopefully when the weather gets nicer, they can start walking outside instead of playing bingo during the day. Patrick joins us with our forecast. He's from the Regional Weather Information Center. Patrick, is March coming in like a lion or a lamb?
Well, March is definitely coming in like a lamb. It's pretty quiet this morning with some pretty chilly temperatures down into the single digits just above zero. And we're looking at just partly cloudy skies right now. And we're looking at the possibility of some isolated flurries in the forecast for today. Stay tuned for that. I'll get to that in just a few seconds. First off, your current conditions for Grand Forks this morning. Partly cloudy skies. Our temperature is at 7 above. Our dew point is at 2 degrees above zero. Relative humidity 80%. Our winds are from the west-northwest at 11 miles per hour. The pressure 29.68 inches, and that's now holding steady. And the wind chill is right about -13 this morning. Temperature is holding across the region. 8 degrees at Fargo, 15 at Bismarck, a little warmer down to the southwest. Rapid City reporting at 23 degrees above, 11 at Minneapolis, 2 degrees below at Duluth, and we're looking at 0 at International Falls. And they're also seeing some light snow falling in that area and some light snow falling in the western end of North Dakota. Now, taking a look at the current map across the nation, a trough extends right through Minnesota and South Dakota, and those isolated flurries are right through here and through here. And this activity is actually moving down to the southeast. We're going to continue to stay with the cloud cover over the top of us for today. As we look for that flurry activity to gradually move eastward, we'll continue to stay with the cloud cover. Starting to see a little bit of clearing to our north as another Arctic high is poised to move in from the northwest. And this cold front is a delineation of some very cold air, and by tonight, temperatures are going to be dipping down into the teens below zero. So some very chilly air is going to be moving in over the top of us over the nighttime hours tonight, so some colder air tomorrow morning. Your forecasted highs for today. We're looking at single-digit highs for today, teens across the southwest. For tonight, we're looking at, again, teens below zero for eastern North Dakota, northern Minnesota, and single digits below zero. Looking at your forecast for today, looking for partly to mostly cloudy skies with isolated flurries. Our winds will be from the north-northwest at 10 to 25 with a high of 9. For tonight, look for partly cloudy skies, and again, cold temperatures with north winds 15 to 25 with a low of around -16. And in the outlook Saturday through Monday, we're looking at temperatures actually starting to go up to about 8, and we're looking for the possibility of some snow coming in by the start of next week as another storm system begins to develop over the Rocky Mountains. So we'll keep an eye on that one for the start of next week, but overall, we're going to continue to stay with some rather quiet weather right here in Grand Forks. Scott and Stephanie.
Thanks, Patrick. I thought when March came, we wouldn't see any more below zero digits.
I know. What makes it come in like a lion? Is it the wind?
Wind and I think precipitation.
Well, keep away from the snow, that's for sure.
Yes.
We go to sports now and Josh Morton. And Josh, you're going to be telling us about Wayne Gretzky, first time in a new uniform.
A big night last night in sports, Scott. Our never-ending quest to bring you the best in sports highlights continues today on Studio One. Last semester, we told you that Mario Lemieux was a pretty good hockey player. Well, I think we can add Wayne Gretzky to that list as well, the great one, making his debut with the Blues last night. And he wasted no time scoring his first goal, the breakaway in the first period. But Alexander Mogilny ruins Gretzky's debut in a 2-2 tie with Vancouver.
I love the makeup of this team. It's got speed, it's got size, good guys, everybody's working hard. And I'm glad my wife was in Mike's ear to get Grant Fuhr for that. He's quite a goaltender.
To the hardwood, and the Dallas Mavericks were on fire last night, setting an NBA record 18 three-pointers. Jim Jackson had 30 to lead Dallas to a 137-120 win in Denver. We stay with the round ball, but the college game and Danny Fortson's 25 helped Cincinnati to a 71-66 win against Memphis. Quick football news, Giants running back Rodney Hampton is reportedly on the brink of a 6-year, $16.5 million deal with the 49ers. Feels good to see those football highlights again. Now here's a look at the overnight scores. The North Dakota hockey team has reached the second season. The Sioux host Wisconsin Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if needed in the first round of the WCHA playoffs. The Badgers swept UND in Madison in February, and Sioux goalie Toby Kavalivog says he has revenge on his mind.
Kind of a chance to get back at them, so to speak. We went down there a couple weeks ago and they took it to us. They beat us in the third period 2 nights in a row. And this is our opportunity this weekend with our own fans behind us to kind of show them who's the boss and hopefully make it to the Final Five.
The Sioux clinched home ice with a win last weekend against Michigan Tech and are seated 5th in the playoffs. Wisconsin comes in 7-0-2 in their last 9 games. And that's it for this Ava Sports. Scott and Stephanie in our second half. I'll show you my skills on the pool table, or maybe lack thereof.
Can't wait. 11 minutes now past the hour, and still ahead on Studio One. When disaster strikes in the United States, Mary Kay and John Hanson are there to help save lives.
But first we'll talk with Bozlinski, who leaves all the comforts of home behind to camp in the wilderness. Studio One continues after this.
We want to hear what you have to say about Studio One. Contact us on the internet. Our email address is udstudio@badlands.nodac.edu. Let us know what you think about our show. Or better yet, give us your story and guest idea of who you'd like to see on Studio One.
Insurance. Unfortunately, it costs. Fortunately, it pays. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Bismarck.
You know, ever since I got Community National's imaging, I've had a great idea for a game show.
From your bank statements, who can find check number 1144?
Here it is. Jack's Hardware Store, September 15th, 1995 for $39.
Who is the only bank to offer this incredible imaging service?
My bank?
Wrong. Bill?
Community National Bank, of course.
Be a winner in your new fashion wardrobe from Columbia Mall. Look great in class, your school activity, and your sporting event. New styles are arriving daily. It's an easy stop and comfortable shopping when you shop for all your new fashions at Columbia Mall, Grand Forks. Easy parking, great people, super prices on your new fashions.
Great food can come from anyone, as long as the shredded natural cheese comes from Sargento of Wisconsin.
And pick your insurance company? As your agent and broker, that's our exact job. We think we do it well, and have been since 1947. Voller Insurance, Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Bismarck.
You're watching Studio One. News, weather, sports, and entertainment.
Camping during the summer months is a favorite pastime for those who love the outdoors. For others, camping can be a year-round adventure. Lance Bozlinski is president of the Wilderness Pilot Association, and he joins us today to discuss the survival trips he and his group enjoy. Lance, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
First, why don't you tell everyone what exactly your group is?
The Wilderness Pilots Association, we're a campus organization, a student organization. We're real active on campus. We promote safe flying, and we do a lot of remote area operations and training in that area. We do survival training, CPR and first aid training, and just a lot of fun trips we like to take very often. We provide speakers for our members during our regular meetings as often as we can, and a lot of fun things like that.
Do you have to be a pilot to be a part of this?
No, not at all, actually. We encourage, people from the biology department and things like that, or just anyone interested in taking some of the trips with us to come out. We have one trip a year that we usually try to fly out to, and usually at the same time we take a vehicle out there as well to keep the costs down.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's take a look at some videotape we have of a trip that was gone on maybe about a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And explain what exactly goes on these trips and what you try to do here.
Okay, this is our survival trip from several springs ago. What we're doing here is we're basically testing out different methods of fire starting.
Which is the easiest to do?
Well, matches are pretty easy to do. Right here we're seeing the flint and steel technique. We do just practice a lot of different techniques and see what works best, basically.
How long did it take you to start your first fire?
Oh, my first fire, this one probably only took about, what, 4 or 5 minutes. Matches usually a little bit not quite as long. So it depends on how wet the wood is and the conditions. It looks pretty wet in this video here.
Making it
definitely.
Hard, yeah. Well, right here we're seeing, you know, this is real basic. You got your cans on the fire, you got your clothes on tree limbs trying to dry out, so it's real basics.
Yeah, we build our own shelters for the weekend. It's one of the skills that we learn, and of course you saw there the fire starting. We practice our CPR and our first aid and rescuing techniques and things like that.
So then do you become certified in CPR?
Yeah, what we do is we certify all our members prior to the survival trip. It's one of the requirements to go on the trip.
Mm-hmm. Tell us one of the trips you went on. You went to Yellowstone.
Yeah, every fall we try to take a rather large trip, either up to Churchill, Manitoba. This year we went to Yellowstone, Wyoming, and we flew 3 airplanes out there, and we took one big Suburban with all of our gear and drove that all the way out there. We had a fire start in the Suburban on our way out there too. University vehicles. So that was interesting. But once we got to Yellowstone, we spent the night there. It was a rather cold night, and we went to Old Faithful the next morning. And it began to snow that morning. It actually snowed that night a little bit too. Mm-hmm. And it snowed quite a bit for the beginning of October, and they closed the mountain pass down going into Old Faithful. So we were stuck there for the night. We couldn't even get back to our camping site.
Oh, so you have to have special gear for that then?
No, actually what we did is we spent the night in the Old Faithful Inn, which is running about $120 a night. The Wilderness Pilots Association was spending the night there.
Yeah, not exactly back to the basics.
No, not exactly, but most of us spent the night on the floor though, so I guess that can kind of be considered.
We have about 30 seconds left. And tell us about a trip you took before Yellowstone. You went to see polar bears.
Yes, we every fall, as I said, we have that rather large trip, and last year was the first year that we went to Yellowstone, but in the years previous, for about 3 or 4 years, we've gone up to Churchill, Manitoba, and we've gone on the polar bear expeditions up there on big, huge buggies with tundra tires and everything like that, and the bears basically come right up to the vehicles, and it's a lot of fun.
It's got to be spectacular.
It is. It's a real experience.
Good. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Good. 20 minutes now after the hour, and just ahead on Studio One, we'll get up close and personal with Michelle Pfeiffer and Robert Redford. But first, we'll show you a couple who drops everything to donate their time to the American Red Cross. The Hanson team comes to the aid of others during times of crisis.
Make a memory, make a friend, make a fantasy come true in the end. Make a dream to be remembered more than anything could say.
Hi, I'm Nancy Schaefer. Please support the Make-A-Wish Foundation so we can continue to make dreams come true for these special children.
I was looking for a car for 3 months, and the folks at Honda Nissan knew I did TV commercials. And so they asked me for suggestions, and all I could tell them was how great I was treated at Honda Nissan. And the next thing you know, here I am. When I went to Honda Nissan, I was treated with such respect. And I really couldn't believe the quality and selection that I found there. People always tell me that you get what you pay for. But at Honda Nissan, you really do get what you pay for.
An art gallery? No. Someone's art collection? Not at all. These are just some of the fine paintings available from Home Economy Home Furnishings. Come in today and our experienced sales staff will be happy to give you a guided tour. Home Economy, Highway 81 North, Grand Forks.
The School of Law at the University of North Dakota is steeped in tradition. From the first graduating class, students today learn from the Modern Law Library and computer labs. Students write for the North Dakota Law Review, take part in moot court, and review court proceedings with video technology. Law and medical students compete in the annual Malpractice Bowl.
The size of our student body gives great access to their teachers, and our computer network allows us to access worldwide legal resources.
Look up the UND School of Law for more opportunities.
Many people consider having a full-time job and family more than enough responsibility, but one husband and wife team are devoting much of their lives to helping others. Studio One's Teresa Johnston tells us why John and Mary Kay Hanson are someone we want you to meet.
Both John and Mary Kay Hanson have full-time jobs and the responsibility of raising a family. But for nearly 20 years, they have been volunteers for the American Red Cross. Being a volunteer for the Red Cross means wearing a beeper 24 hours a day. John and Mary Kay are available any time of the day or night in case of disasters like floods and fires.
If they call for mass care for a fire, we both go. Usually it's in the middle of the night, and I really don't like to go out in the middle of the night by myself, so we both go.
Fundraisers like the Frosty Bobber can be attributed to the hard volunteer work put in by John and Mary Kay, and their time does not go unnoticed. The couple was recently awarded the Outstanding Volunteer of the Year award from the Red Cross. Their job is to find whatever disaster victims need, whether it is dry shelter after a flood or new clothes after a fire.
We give the basics to the people to get them going again, get them back in life, or provide the shelter or whatever they need.
John and Mary Kay work behind the scenes to make sure that every need is met in order to get victims back on their feet. Many people are surprised at the huge amount of work that goes into disaster relief.
Find out what's going on, and I become behind the scenes. Mary Kay takes care and sets everything up, gets everything going, and I'm usually out in the action, right into it, figuring out what we need to do and starting coordinating things with the fire departments or rescue squads, whatever's needed.
And generally he finds out how much longer it's going to last to see if we need to call for more food or more coffee or whatever, see if we need more supplies, if it's going to last for more than 2 meals, and we have to make sure we have food to feed them and get more people to help us.
When disaster strikes, it's nice to know that people like John and Mary Kay Hanson are here to help us. They are making a difference in our lives through their dedication to helping others in times of great distress. Teresa Johnston, Studio One.
John and Mary Kay would like to retire one of these days and join the National Red Cross team. This would enable them to travel all around the world helping people affected by disaster. Tally Atwater, a small-town weather person, is trying her best to make it in the fast-paced world of television reporting, and she's not doing very well. Then her older, wiser co-worker, Warren Justice, decides to give her some tips on how to make her way up the TV news ladder. In the midst of her rising success, the two fall in love, but find the relationship rocked by the elements of competitive flair. They find themselves dealing with the very emotional ups and downs, and amongst all the chaos, need to find their way back to what's important.
If I was into inventing people, believe me, I would have invented somebody a hell of a lot tougher than you turned out to be.
I am exactly the way you made me.
You can do it, and you're gonna do it, only you're gonna do it on your own.
Up Close and Personal begins Friday, March 1st and stars Michelle Pfeiffer and Robert Redford. Now, time to take a look at the events that are happening in your area.
Whether it's jumping off a plane or skiing down an unmarked trail, the idea of indulging in something dangerous attracts many people. The excitement of trying new or sometimes life-threatening adventures presents a challenge and a release from our daily lives. Here are your thoughts on the most dangerous thing you've ever done.
The most dangerous thing is probably skydiving. It was in Baldwin, Wisconsin, right outside the Twin Cities, and it was just really fun. Just be in free fall for 6,000 feet, which is about a minute, and it's just a great experience.
My roommate and my boyfriend and myself pulled each other on sleds this winter behind my roommate's Dodge station wagon, and we almost got in trouble from the people at the armory. The National Guard Armory, they started chasing us out of the parking lots.
Bungee jumping in Colorado. It was great, probably the best thing I've ever done. That point where you're, either gonna die or live, and well, eventually, hopefully you live. But it was really cool. I went off a tower and about 120 feet. It was really fun. I'm gonna plan on skydiving next.
I'd have to say whitewater rafting in Whitefish, Montana. It was a rush.
If you're looking for a hot spot to visit, you might consider New Zealand for a change. One place in particular is the small town of Rotorua. This community is located right in the heart of the Ring of Fire. It's called this because of the volcanoes that surround the community. Visitors are treated to a breathtaking view between the bubbling sulfur springs and the Pohutu, which is an erupting geyser.
It's a special, very different place. It's something you can't find anywhere else.
This small area is where we do our cooking, our washing, and our bathing. There are not a people here in this village that suffer too much with arthritis because we have the daily mineral pools.
Now, it's this view that draws more than 500,000 visitors to the city every year. More importantly, it provides support for a small New Zealand community which founded its economic base on the 100 hotels in the area. Visitors not only see the site, but can feel its power. The ground feels warm to the touch, and tourists are cautioned not to wander off the pass. 27 minutes now after the hour, and still ahead today on Studio One. For men and women who are thinking about marriage, you better start planning on what kind of ring you want. The choices are endless, and so are the prices. Plus, a look at 2 eating disorders that both men and women are suffering from. These disorders are destroying people's bodies as they strive to reach for that model figure. That story, plus Patrick's updated weather forecast and news and sports in the next half hour on Studio One.
UND's Division of Continuing Education can help you learn throughout your lifetime. Begin or continue your education through correspondence study and learning after hours with classes on weekends and evenings. Or enhance your personal and professional development through conferences, management seminars, and specialized programs.
Our goal is to provide quality programs and extend UND resources to you.
For more information, call 777-4266 or 1-800-342-8230.
At Studio One, we're moving you into the future, and we're growing. Today, nearly 1.5 million people have the opportunity to see Studio One. In addition to Channel 3 in Grand Forks, Studio One can be seen on Channel 2 in Fargo, Channel 12 in Bismarck-Mandan, Channel 19 in Minot, in Crookston, Minnesota on Channel 7, and now on Channel 6 in the Twin Cities greater metro area. You're never far away from Studio One as we move you into the future.
Oh, gee, I mean, you ask the students.
The education that you get is as good as or better than what you can get at anywhere else.
The teachers really go out of their way to help you outside of class.
It's just an incredibly rich opportunity and environment here.
Gee, Vince, what kind of dummy wouldn't know how to use a child safety seat?
Beats me, lads. Child's play.
You just buckle him in.
Unless he's over 20 pounds.
Then this one's good.
Except if he's over 40 pounds.
Then you're into this kind of ring.
What if he outgrows that?
Put him in a booster seat?
What if he's too big for a booster seat?
Would he use the safety belt?
The Auto Safety Hotline can tell you everything you need to know about keeping your child safe in a car.
I'm a wreck.
Totaled.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Call 1-800-424-9393.
Now from the University of North Dakota, this is Studio One.
Thanks and welcome back to Studio One today.
We're celebrating a leap year this year. A lot of interesting things happen on leap year days.
Yeah, I don't know why. This year just seems to stand out much more for a leap year than the other years.
Well, it was 4 years ago, so
it was a long time.
And a little fascinating fact, if we did not have leap years, eventually the 4th of July would be celebrated in the winter. So total different season and everything.
Sort of ruined the fireworks display, I
would
think.
A little cold.
Coming up in the next 30 minutes on Studio One, we'll show you how heels aren't really what they are pumped up to be.
Plus an in-depth look at how eating disorders create an obsession with the waistline and in the meantime are destroying people's bodies.
And jeweler Deb McPherson will teach us about the 3 C's of diamonds: cut, color, and clarity. But first, Mike Mundahl with the details on the presidential primary and other news from the region and CNN. Mike?
Thanks, Scott and Stephanie. The top 4 contenders for the GOP presidential nomination faced off once again in Columbia, South Carolina Thursday. The 4 candidates went calling on the Christian Coalition. The coalition claims 100,000 members in South Carolina. The group's favorite among the top 4 appeared to be Patrick Buchanan for his uncompromising anti-abortion stand. Bob Dole is currently ahead in South Carolina, and the coalition will play a big role. For the first time ever, scientists have shown that a normal breast cancer gene actually inhibits tumor growth, and that could lead to new treatments or drugs. Scientists at Vanderbilt University have put a normal version of the breast cancer gene, known as BRCA1, into mice with breast or ovarian cancer. The hope is it would produce a protein that would shut down the cancer. There were 180,000 cases of breast cancer diagnosed in the U.S. last year. Overall, 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer, a lifetime risk of 12%. The Vanderbilt researchers hope to perform gene treatment within 6 months on women with breast cancer. The spring melting season is approaching, and hopefully it will be flood-free. No assumptions can be made yet, but recent forecasts for most of the Northwest say we should be safe from flooding. However, the Devil's Lake region in North Dakota could be hit hard again this year with an estimated $50 million worth of flood damage. There is more to a flood than just a heavy snowfall.
Generally, flooding that occurs within city areas is brought on by heavy precipitation that falls in the latter half of the snow melt period, when either the snow is already all melted or just about all gone, to get heavy rain on top of it. That's when the real problems generally develop.
Keeping materials such as sandbags, extra batteries, first aid kits, and stocks of food on hand are the best ways to prepare for unexpected floods. Doctors are working toward the day when they can grow replacement body parts such as arms, hands, and even human hearts. Advanced Tissue Sciences in California has found a way to grow human cells into functioning tissues and organs. The company has successfully grown cartilage, which keeps its shape and strength over time. In 10 to 15 years, cardiovascular surgeons hope to use tissue-grown heart valve replacements and tissue products such as blood vessels. The company is on the verge of releasing a temporary skin covering for severely burned patients and those with diabetic skin ulcers. We have experienced the Ice Age, the Industrial Age, and now the Computer Age. Games have stayed in sync with people and have also changed throughout the years. Most games today are high-tech, but some have withstood the test of time.
Today in the computer age, the internet and virtual reality are becoming more common than games like Chinese checkers and cribbage. Many believe the bigger and more complex games are, the better. Game maker Boyd Wright disagrees and is happier getting back to the basics.
More and more parents and grandparents who are buying these games for their kids because they're finding that the video games make their kids hyper.
Boyd makes the wooden board games because he says kids still like mental stimulation, but not all the violence.
They oftentimes want them to still have the mental challenge of a game, but they don't want that hyperness from the video games.
Boyd started Wright-made products 10 years ago.
You work more hours than you would probably if you worked in a regular office job, but they're a lot of fun hours.
Boyd makes 54 games, a line of bowls, and many other items all out of wood. The busiest time of the year is in the fall and winter when the Christmas rush is on, but summer is a good time for selling to tourists. Boyd does business with 200 shops in 45 states, mostly on the East Coast. He realizes that there is a wide range of people that are interested in his games.
You have to have simple games for children. You have to have games that more than 2 people can play. So like, for example, the Chinese checkers, you can play up to 6. You have to have games that are for single people.
Boyd makes his games from variations of the 15 basic board games. There are race, capture, war, and strategy games. The computer age may have snuck up on Boyd Wright, but it isn't going to pass him by. Claire Waite-Novus, Studio One News.
Boyd makes most of his games with pawns instead of marbles. He says it's easier for older adults to use these pieces. If you have lower back pain, the discomfort of your feet may cause the problem. The shoes you wear can make a fashion statement, but if this statement is at the expense of your back and feet, it may not be worth the trouble. A study by the American Pediatric Association shows 39% of American women wear high heels, even though they know wearing high heels can be hazardous.
I got 2 of those. Well, it can cause problems in the feet or in the back. Generally, the low back, you will get an arching of the low back and a little bit of muscle strain down in the lumbosacral area, which is right across the belt line. and you can get an exaggeration of symptoms if the person's pelvis is unlevel to begin with. Then you can get a little more low back pain.
If you are required to stand and walk on the job, you should buy comfortable shoes. The extra money you save on doctor bills might pay for the added expense. And that's a look at news for this half hour. Scott and Stephanie?
Thanks, Mike. So, show us your shoes.
I don't wear heels. I have big grandma shoes. That's what they call them. And with the weather the way it has been, with the ice on the sidewalks and everything like that, it's a little treacherous walking around with those little high heels on. So I stay away from them. Patrick joins us now from the Regional Weather Information Center for our forecast. Patrick, when are we going to see the ice coming off the sidewalks?
Well, it's not going to be for a little while. We're going to continue to stay with a little bit of ice on, a little bit of ice patches here and there and around the area, just due to the fact we're going to stay in a pretty cold weather pattern for a little bit of while until we get into about next week, and then temperatures will start to warm up by about midweek. But for the most part, we're looking at some pretty chilly weather here this morning. Here are your current conditions here in Grand Forks. We're looking at partly cloudy skies. Our temperature is at 7 degrees above. Our dew point is 2 degrees, giving us a relative humidity of 80%. Winds are west-northwest at 11 miles per hour. The pressure 29.68 inches and holding steady. Your forecast for today, look for partly to mostly cloudy skies. Could see an isolated shot at some flurries today with north-northwest winds 10 to 25 miles per hour with a high of around 9 degrees. For tonight, look for partly cloudy skies and some colder air starting to move in from the north. Looking at winds from north between 15 and 25 miles per hour with a low of around -16. In the outlook Saturday through Monday, looking at chance for flurries here and there Saturday and Monday. We're looking at a developing storm system that will be moving through the south central plains that could give us some difficulties by the start of next week. So stay tuned to some weather conditions and the local forecast to make sure you keep in tune with that one. But for the most part, it looks like we'll have a chance for some snow coming in by Monday. So for the most part, chance of snow here and there, Scott and Stephanie.
Thanks, Patrick. Still snow in March.
Still snow. Well, that's normal, I guess, for us.
We live in the north.
Josh Morton joins us now with some sports. And Josh, do you compare yourself with Minnesota Fats or not?
Not quite, Scott, as you'll see. When we talk big upsets in sports, we're usually talking about the 1980 Olympic hockey team, the '69 Jets winning the Super Bowl, or maybe Villanova beating Patrick Ewing in Georgetown for the national championship of college basketball. I was looking for that same kind of upset this week when I took on a billiards champ at her own game.
The champion, Y. Vaughn Fisher, Region 10 Women's 8-Ball champ. And her challenger? Well, maybe not much of a challenge, but I decided to give it a try. My strategy? Just stay close and hope she scratches on the 8-ball. That's the one. But first, I want to get a good break. Yeah, that'll work. I'm starting to think I can play. Now the champ's turn, and she doesn't disappoint. Believe it or not, Y. Vaughn will face some stiffer competition in April when she heads to the National Collegiate Tournament in Gainesville, Florida. But for now, she just better try to beat me.
Hit that rail.
Try to make my first ball.
All right.
Nope. The champ has Morton on the ropes. 8-ball, corner pocket. She scratched on the 8-ball.
Yeah.
That's an easy win.
Yeah, you did win.
Man, rack 'em.
Oh, okay.
The champ can't go home a loser. Game 2, though, Y. Vaughn not too kind to her competition. Her 21 years of shooting stick giving her a pretty big advantage, but maybe her biggest advantage is her challenger. The nice soft touch. And even after our battle, there was still time to get some free lessons from a pro. And as Y. Vaughn found out, her competitor still needs a lot of work. How about that one?
That was good.
Well, nothing like playing the best. Y. Vaughn says one of the best things about being a good player is challenging overconfident guys in bars around town. She says being a female stick shooter, they assume that she can't play. Here's another look at the scores from last night. And a final sports note today, Lee Jansen shot a 9 under 63 at the PGA's Doral Open on Thursday. Doral Open played Miami. Scott and Stephanie, I thought you'd like a little warm weather tidbit today.
We can always use that.
Very helpful.
40 minutes now after the hour. Stay with us to learn if it's true that men need to spend 3 months of their salary when purchasing a diamond. Or maybe, Stephanie, it's 3 months of a woman's salary.
You never know. Plus a look at the private battle of those who suffer from eating disorders. That story's next on Studio One.
Insurance. Unfortunately, it costs. Fortunately, it pays. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Bismarck.
The University Bookstore at UND is open to everyone and invites you to make it your lifelong learning resource center. At the largest university bookstore in the Dakotas, you can choose from a wide selection of educational materials, imprinted clothing, and gift items. The trade department carries general interest books, reference materials, and educational software. Special orders and direct mailing services are available at the University Bookstore by calling 1-800-671-0948.
Be a winner in your new fashion wardrobe from Columbia Mall. Look great in class, your school activity, and your sporting event. New styles are arriving daily. It's an easy stop and comfortable shopping when you shop for all your new fashions at Columbia Mall, Grand Forks. Easy parking, great people, super prices on your new fashions.
No matter what you have a taste for, Sargento recipe blends have a way to make it taste better. 4 cheese Mexican and 6 cheese Italian. From Sargento of Wisconsin.
And pick your insurance company? As your agent and broker, that's our exact job. We think we do it well, and have been since 1947. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Bismarck.
You're watching Studio One. News, weather, sports, and entertainment.
When singer Karen Carpenter died in the mid-1980s, few people knew of the deadly eating disorder that took her life. Since then, anorexia and bulimia have gained plenty of attention. But for its victims, life is anything but high profile. In fact, it's quite lonely. Studio One's Eric Dethridge introduces us to 2 women who want to turn their silent suffering into a wake-up call to others battling a deadly illness.
From the early stages to the often severe health complications that result, many victims of anorexia and bulimia go at it alone. One woman who nearly died from anorexia is Dolores. The damage to her body is so severe, she still has to eat through a tube every night. She was diagnosed in the 1970s, a time when few doctors specialized in treating the disorder, but she did manage to find an experimental clinic. The program, however, wasn't successful, and Dolores was on her own.
It was me and God. Everybody else was either against me or didn't care.
In 1982, Dolores suffered cardiac arrest from severe heart muscle damage caused by anorexia.
It's like taking drugs or driving drunk. It is that dangerous, you know. You're bound, you're gonna die pretty soon.
2 things helped Dolores in her recovery: her music and her faith. At only 84 pounds, Dolores still has a long way to go, but her new job as a music therapist and the caring of good friends helps Dolores want to live again.
Don't ever stop hoping.
It's been said people with eating disorders are obsessed with food. Well, that's not necessarily the case. It's about control. One woman we talked to who chose not to be identified initially was diagnosed with anorexia. However, after many long struggles at the dinner table, she found a new way to control food. People with bulimia get rid of their guilt by purging or throwing up the food they've indulged in. For this 24-year-old woman, it all began at a family gathering where excuses for not eating were running out.
And they made me this cake,
And I had about 3 bites, and that was, the feeling of panic was unbelievable. I felt complete, total panic, because I felt like I could see it almost growing on my body. I could see the fat, instantly, as soon as I swallowed it.
Since her family didn't suspect a thing, quick trips to the bathroom became the routine.
I thought at that point, gosh, finally, and I can get rid of some of this pressure. If I'm absolutely pressured to eat something, I can do it, and then I can get rid of it.
After years of purging, she suffered major damage to her digestive system. Though she eats now, it's almost impossible to keep food down.
One of the first things that happened is my stomach problems. I have really bad acid and intestinal problems. I've had that now for a long, long time. I don't remember, to the point where I can't even take a sip of water, and it feels like it's fire burning.
She thinks many young girls have distorted ideas of beauty thanks in part to society's mixed messages.
I think magazines are so hypocritical because you'll read in a Glamour or Cosmopolitan magazine, get past an article on eating disorders and how it's not right to diet and how it doesn't matter anymore, and you just be at a healthy weight. And the next page you'll turn will be Kate Moss or a stick-thin model, with Calvin Klein jeans on.
Bulimia is more prevalent than anorexia, but for those who think throwing up food is a safe alternative to starving oneself,
it's not a game, and don't mess with it, because you're playing with fire and you're playing with your health, and you're going to regret it. You'll regret it with every part in your body.
And Eric Jethro joined us for some additional information. Eric, do many men suffer from anorexia or bulimia?
Well, I'd say about 5% of men, or 5% of people that suffer with eating disorders are men right now, but those numbers are growing every year.
So how widespread are the eating disorders?
Very widespread. A doctor I talked to the other day, he threw out a lot of statistics, and the one that really stuck out is 30% of all college-age females either have bulimia or they have bulimic tendencies, a very high number.
And if you want more information on this, we're going to have some phone numbers that are going to be coming up later in our show. So if you're interested in finding out about that, stay tuned. Thanks, Eric. Very important information. Up next on Studio One, Stephanie talks with Deb McPherson. She will show us what to look for in a good diamond.
If there's something you want to know about Studio One, write us, call us, or fax us. Our address is Box 7307, Grand Forks, North Dakota, 58202. If you want to call us, dial 701-777-4346, or fax your message to us at 701-777-4342.
Only you
can prevent forest fires. And it's true. We know we can count on you to do what Smokey says.
drown your campfires with water. Make sure it's totally wet. Then stir and drown again.
We know we can count on you to do what Smokey says.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
I was looking for a car for 3 months, and the folks at Honda Nissan knew I did TV commercials. And so they asked me for suggestions, and all I could tell them was how great I was treated at Honda Nissan. And the next thing you know, here I am. When I went to Honda Nissan, I was treated with such respect. And I really couldn't believe the quality and selection that I found there. People always tell me that you get what you pay for. But at Honda Nissan, you really do get what you pay for.
When you put together quality faculty with quality programs, with superb students and all kinds of neat opportunities, you're going to get literally a world-class education. And that's what we can provide at the University of North Dakota.
Coming here, you do meet a lot of people from different cultures, and it's really broadened my horizons a lot, kept me more open-minded.
I really like the professors here. They're always available. You can go in and talk to them whenever you need them.
It really has everything to offer. You don't need to go far away to get a really good education anymore.
Buying an engagement ring is often one of the first and biggest investments in your life. Today we'll show you what to consider when purchasing that diamond ring. Deb McPherson is the owner of McPherson's Jewelry. She'll show us the difference in diamond quality. Thank you for joining us today, Deb.
You're welcome, Stephanie.
What are some of the first steps that a person should take before going into a store? Should they think about budget and style and those types of things?
I think probably the most important thing is to educate yourself. If you don't know where to go and what to look for, go to a reputable jeweler and get what I call Diamond 101, where they go through cut, color, clarity, and carat weight and allow you a little experience with those so that you can shop knowledgeably.
A very good thing to have because it is an investment in the future. Let's start out with the cut of the diamond. Explain what to look for when we're looking at different cuts.
Okay, when we're talking about cut, Stephanie, generally people, when they think of cut, they think of the shape of the stone. But the cut actually refers more to the proportion of each of these various cuts and shapes. And the proportion is very, very important because it's the cutting where most of the cost is actually incurred.
And we have different types of cut now. There's like a marquee cut, and we have a picture of the marquee cut diamond. And tell us a little bit of the uniqueness of this diamond.
Okay, the marquee is often a favorite of engagement couples because one of the nice things about it is it looks larger than the round stone of a comparable carat weight. So it's also extremely flattering to the hand, and so it's very popular. The round brilliant, however, is the most purchased stone.
The most traditional, I'm sure.
The most traditional, yes.
Well, moving on to color, what things do we look for in the color? I realize it's on an alphabetical scale, the different colors.
Okay, the color is graded from D to Z, with D, E, and F being the colorless stones, and D through J is what we call near colorless, and they continue to get more and more yellow. And the closer to colorless you are, the better the quality of the stone.
Can the color be identified by the naked eye?
Yes, and when you're in the store, we like to put down some loose stones for you, and surprisingly enough, even if you've never looked at diamonds before, you're able to tell the difference between a G and an F and an H and an I, and so you are much smarter than you think.
And it comes down to personal preference when it gets to that area.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Clarity.
Okay. Clarity refers to nature's natural little birthmarks, or fingerprints, if you will. And for instance, a black diamond has so many microscopic inclusions that it appears black. So you try to stay in what we call the SI to flawless range, because all of those stones then are there are no inclusions that are visible to the naked eye, and so then you have a beautiful stone. Once you get into the eye clarity stones, then you can start to pick up the inclusions with your naked eye.
And you brought a black diamond here. What makes it a black diamond? What things happen to it that causes it to be black?
Okay, the black diamond, as I said, is actually has so many little microscopic inclusions of the non-crystallized carbon that it doesn't allow light to pass through it, and so it appears black. It is not, however, one of the most popular stones in bridal sets.
I would imagine it would not be. Carat weight. Now, carat weight is something that is personal preference. What things do you talk about when people are looking at carat weight?
Okay, carat weight is exactly that. It's a unit of weight. There are 5 carats in a gram. So years ago they were actually weighed by the carob seed, and that's hence the name. But a carat has 100 points, so just like there's 100 pennies to a dollar, there are 100 points to a carat, and if you have like a half carat stone, then it's 50 points. And you can play with all of these characteristics to come within your budget, because most couples know what they are able to spend, And so knowing that, we can kind of guide you as to, you know, do you need to relax a little bit on clarity or move up a little in the color? Most people want to get the largest and prettiest for their money, of course.
Of course, and it is a lifetime investment. Can you trade up on the diamonds if you start out, get married when you're a little younger, don't have a lot of money? Can you trade up?
Yes. Scott mentioned earlier that 3 months salary was a guideline. We like that, but I guess it's actually only 2. But if you want to spend 3 months, that's great. But you always have that possibility of, you know, starting with a smaller stone, and as your income and so on increases, then you can come back, trade that stone in, and continue to grow. We have a lady who's gone from a 20-point stone to a carat already. So it's something that, you know, don't be put off by that 2-month salary guideline, because it is merely a guideline.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We've learned a lot about diamonds.
You're welcome.
56 minutes now after the hour. Studio One continues right after this.
From the University of North Dakota, you're watching Studio One.
UND's Division of Continuing Education can help you learn throughout your lifetime. Begin or continue your education through correspondence study and learning after hours with classes on weekends and evenings. Or enhance your personal and professional development through conferences, management seminars, and specialized programs.
Our goal is to provide quality programs and extend UND resources to you.
For more information, call 777-4266 or 1-800-342-8230.
Good afternoon, officer. My license and registration. Cheeseburger? It's hot out today, huh, officer? Maybe my tail light's out.
Shouldn't you be carpooling?
I guess you're right.
I guess I am.
Carpooling can save up to 600,000 gallons of gas a year. This message sponsored by Ad Council and EarthShare.
The School of Law at the University of North Dakota is steeped in tradition. From the first graduating class, students today learn from the Modern Law Library and computer labs. Students write for the North Dakota Law Review, take part in moot court, and review court proceedings with video technology. Law and medical students compete in the annual Malpractice Bowl.
The size of our student body gives great access to their teachers, and our computer network allows us to access worldwide legal resources.
Look up the UND School of Law for more opportunities.
Now, more information from Eric Dethridge's report that we said we'd let you know about. If you have questions about bulimia or anorexia, here are those phone numbers. In Grand Forks, contact the Psychiatry Chemical Dependency Outpatient Service at 780-5900. In Fargo, call the Eating Disorder Program at 234-4111. Life Touch in Bismarck at 224-6543. The Unimed Adolescent Psychology in Minot can be reached at 857-2360. Or in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, the University of Minnesota Psychiatric Clinic at 626-6188.
Next week on Studio One, we'll take a look at how gender equity is working for college athletic departments. We'll check to see if women's sports are getting a fair treatment and whether gender equity is not a viable option for college sports. Reporter Josh Morton gives us the story next week on Studio One.
And thanks for joining us today. We're going to leave you with pictures taken by Henrik Meyer and Paul Mathieson at the Feast of Nations celebration. It's a wonderful opportunity to sample many different cultures under one roof. From all of us at Studio One, have a great week. We'll see you next week.